Alright, what's going on, boys? We got a market recap today for Wednesday, May 27th. I personally took no trades this morning. There was a couple potential trades that I was thinking of taking, which we'll go over. But first day back on the XFA's 3 copy traded accounts, and feels good to just be back on live funded accounts, or not live accounts, but on actual funded accounts. And I was super disciplined today, and it just feels good to be back in the game. So as always, the bias coming into the morning. So coming into the open, we had these 1 hour gaps that we were holding on NQ and ES, and I said either NQ holds these 1 hour gaps and pumps back to all-time highs, or we retrace deeper to this next target, which was the 4 hour gap. At the same time, ES had come up and swept all-time highs pre-market and started to run through its 1 hour gap. And we have its new week opening gap down here, which was also equal lows that were put in. I guess yesterday we put in an equal low with where the new week opening gap was. So very, very strong draw on liquidity. I said, I don't normally trade ES, but if we get clear displacement, it would be hard not to short that low, especially with having just swept out previous all-time highs. So that was kind of my bias. And then if we come to the market, we can see NQ here. We ran through these 1 hour gaps and started to make our way lower. And you can see we actually ended up tapping the 4 hour gap. Now on ES, ES looked really good as well for potential shorts off market open, but you can see we've stalled out here and haven't made our way down to the new week opening gap. So I was originally looking to take a trade on ES after this first 15-minute candle close right here. But ES, I just don't really like trading ES because it's such lower volume compared to NQ, and so I wanted to have even more confirmation than something like just a 15-minute candle close. So zooming in, I was looking for us to sort of kind of rebalance here and get bearish reactions, and we never got that. We can see it's been straight up chop work since that original move down, and even on that original move down, you can see how low volume these candles are, which is why I tend to stay away from ES and more so use ES as a tool for trading NQ. So I can see that ES is bearish, and so at that point in time, I'm seeing that ES is a lot lower volume. So I'm like, okay, I know ES is bearish. If NQ gives good price action to the downside, and I know that they're aligned with each other, then I would be fine with taking a short on NQ. So we run through these 1 hour gaps, and my bias quickly becomes bearish to this 4 hour gap down here. It's not the best draw on liquidity, which is why I ended up not taking a trade towards it, but it is the next draw in terms of what do we have to the downside to target. So the first 15-minute candle market open, like ES, super bearish, and we close below these internal lows, and it looks like we're going to go hunt this 4 hour gap and potentially lower very quickly. But with this huge candle, like, because the draw on liquidity isn't like an A++ draw on liquidity for me, I wanted to have even more confirmation. Also, we are at all-time high, so I wanted to see more bearish continuation after this original close. So we open up these 5-minute gaps here, and I'm looking to get a clean flip out of them. So we're tapping into these 5-minute gaps. It eventually turns into a 15-minute, and I'm looking for clear displacement to the downside, and we never really got that. This is kind of choppy here, and yeah, there just never was an entry for me. I thought maybe right here we would start to get displacement, but there just wasn't really clean displacement for me. Like, yes, we eventually did make our way down, and eventually tapped the 4 hour gap, but the only point in time in which I was considering taking a trade that would have been valid, in my opinion, would have been on this 5-minute candle close here, You can see we kind of closed below this internal low. This is a good 5-minute down close candle. Getting various reactions from the 15-minute, but at that point in time, it's literally, even if my stop loss was above this internal high here, which is very, very tight, it's literally a negative RR trade at that point to the 4-hour gap. And considering the 4-hour gap wasn't like the best draw on liquidity for me, I ended up just not taking a trade. And I honestly, at this point in time, I wasn't even really looking that hard for a trade. I was kind of tapped out. Let me just go ahead and lock myself out. But I was kind of zoned out because we had already started to kind of pretty much chop here. And at this point in time, after the chop, I keep zooming out. I'm like, okay, we don't technically have to go tap that 4-hour gap. Like, it's not the best draw on liquidity. It would be a lot more ideal if we had already like displaced past this area and we were targeting this sell side and this new week opening gap. I don't know. It just wasn't the cleanest thing to me, and that's why I stayed out of it. Could have potentially entered if you were looking for like market structure shift, which that market structure shift would have been this 5-minute candle close. So like I said, just not something I was willing to put risk on at this point in time, noticing that the volume had died out, and it just wasn't really that clean anymore to me, and that's why I stayed out of it. And you can see ES, like I said, has still not come down and taken the new week opening gap, even though it is equal lows, even though it is a strong draw on liquidity. Having a strong draw on liquidity is only half of the equation. Like, yes, it's the most important part of the equation, but you can, even though you have a strong draw on liquidity, you have to have that lower time frame confirmation, whatever that is for you and your own trading. And for me, I never got anything I was confident enough to put risk on the table, and so therefore I stayed out of today without any fear of missing out, no FOMO, simply just sitting back and staying disciplined. And this morning was a pretty low cortisol trading day for me, so low stress. And yeah, that's what I saw. I took no trades today. I know some people did catch shorts in the free Discord, so shout out to y'all. They're not the shorts were my bias coming into the morning, right? It's just nothing I was personally content with slapping risk on. So I took no trades today. Today is, what's today? Wednesday. So we have Thursday, Friday of this week still to go. And playing the odds, there's likely going to be one more day of strong, good volume, good volatility, good moving price action, because it is a short week. So I usually say there's 1 to 3 days per week where we have good moving efficient price action. This week's a short week, so we only had 4 days, and yesterday we had one of those days. So maybe, I'm coming in with a defensive mindset, kind of, knowing that it's a short week, knowing we already had one good day of good moving price action yesterday. So in my opinion, I think tops maybe one of these next 2 days are going to present good opportunity, but I'm not going to force anything, and just going to be disciplined. And yeah, man, that's all I got. Like I said, feels good to be back on accounts where I can actually be pulling money, and strong discipline to start these XFAs. So that's the trade recap for me. Appreciate you watching. Code FST on all your favorite prop firms: Alpha Futures, Lucid, Apex, Tradeify. Alpha Futures is still running 25% off on they just came out with their new Alpha Trader platform. If you want to use code FST, would be greatly appreciated. It would support me. All the links will be in the description for that. If you want to join the free Discord, that'll be the first link in the description as well. But other than that, that's all I got. Appreciate you watching. Let me know if you took a trade or not, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.